Hey Eddie, how's it going, man? We're back.
That's
It's
tough
another
loss
post-game
again.
show. Oh, don't say loss. I'm not trying to be dramatic here, but that pain hurts. Back-to-back games, no points out of the back-to-backs against two quality teams. As the Ducks fall to the Dallas Stars 2-1 tonight, took a long, drastic breath to get that out, just because watching this game just made me cringe after the Getzlaf goal, which we'll get to here in a bit. Ducks fall here against the team they beat recently. Don't really say you can fault goaltending, huh?
Yeah, not really. I mean, the way Miller's played, not just in this game, but the last time he played Dallas, is kind of almost a carbon copy of that game. And, yeah, I mean, you can't blame him. I mean, the goals, one was a tip by Shore. Well, they were both tips, right? So it was Shore and Ben tipping them in.
And Ben.
Yeah, so you can't really blame Miller on much. He pretty much played as well as he could in this game, and the Ducks just looked tired. I mean, it's coming off a back-to-back against a tough game, tough loss against Nashville, and they were just running out of gas, really, about halfway through the third period.
Yeah, so just a desperate act by the Ducks to try to hold on to a lead after the first period. It just kind of just dwindled away piece by piece throughout the second. It was just an onslaught we saw coming there in the third. Let's get to the pregame before we get the show started. Eddie, let's talk about some lineup changes. Jason Chimera out. Our speedy grit leader guy, he's gone. Grant, who was the offensive powerhouse while the Ducks were injured and just waiting for somebody to try to come up through there in the ranks, and he provided the offense early on in the season. He gets the axe tonight. And then Kevin Bieksa, fan favorite, he's out in favor of the likes of JT Brown, Antoine Vermette, and Pedersen steps in for Bieksa there. What are your thoughts on those lineup changes? Is that something you expected? I think we expected the Pedersen one, but kind of interesting. I mean, not all that impactful with Chimera and Grant out and Vermette and JT Brown in, but, what do you take on that?
I was surprised to see Boschman come back in. He's a guy that we've kind of expected now to not play back-to-backs. And for him to come in this one and BX be out, I guess they're in the same position, really, aren't they? That now they're at the point in their careers where they really shouldn't be playing back-to-backs, but you're at the point with the way this team's built that you got to play one of them. They go with Boschman, and he didn't look bad. I can't complain. I think the only thing is I would have liked to see Derek Grant continue to stay in the lineup. I think he's played his way at least onto that fourth line. I think it would have been a better option in there than Antoine Vermette. Happy that JT Brown came back in. Obviously didn't make much of an impact, but the fourth line didn't really get much going in this game. But it was just nice to see him back, because I think he was kind of getting the short end of the stick being put out for Chimera and Kelly.
Yeah, I know that fourth line getting about 6 to 7 minutes of ice time. I'm really curious as to why Vermette was playing in this game. I mean, he's definitely not the guy with the legs under him to keep up with the competition in the NHL anymore. And it's just, like you said, curious why Grant gets the boot out of the lineup. But, Carlisle's made some interesting lineup changes, talking about last game with pulling Pedersen out and mixing up the D pairs there when they had a really great thing working for him, going 7-1-1 before the loss last night. And then tonight getting another regulation loss. And then the other curious thing about this game is they give up 2 power play goals, which we're going to get into here, that set them up for the loss. But the one thing we did expect, and the one thing that didn't disappoint in Anaheim, or for Anaheim, was Ryan Miller. He gets the start on the second half of the back-to-back. I felt like he played really well and did everything he could to hold the Ducks in, with some key saves there on Tyler Seguin at times. But like you said earlier, there's just nothing the Ducks could have really done on those tip plays. But, I mean, how do you feel about this team, getting a 3-day break? You think they're going to be able to get geared up and play hard and heavy on Monday against St. Louis? Or is this something that Ducks fans, we should be worried about going into the stretch?
I think it's kind of a mix of both, and it reminds me a bit of the back-to-back games before the trade deadline where they played Arizona and Edmonton. And obviously Nashville and Dallas are better teams, but the Ducks didn't play – I don't think they played awful in these 2 games. They definitely didn't deserve to win, but it wasn't like they got dominated by Nashville for the entire game. They made it close. I think obviously Nashville deserved to win that game. And this one, it was more that the Ducks played a pretty good 40 minutes. The second period was shaky at times. And then they just got tired, and you could see it. And they got a little bit complacent. Yeah, Dallas got a couple bounces with the 2 tip goals, and you end up losing the game, and you don't get any points from the back-to-back games. And I think they'll rest up, like you said, come back against St. Louis, hopefully have a strong game, because St. Louis is a team that's been slumping. And you kind of need to win this one with the way the standings are. You can't lose 3 games in a row at this point in the season with so little games left. The points are premium, and they're not really battling, I guess you could say, with St. Louis. But it doesn't matter at this point. You got to pretty much win every game and get as many points as you can.
No, I absolutely agree with that. So, on that note, Eddie, let's start the show, man, and get the intro rolling. Let's get started breaking down this loss.
Trying to get by Benning. Darnell Nurse left it in the corner, gets up center. Perry scores! Corey Perry!
William able to shake away from Solani. It's given away to Solani around in front. Score! Teemu Solani with the steal.
And the fans want one. Score! On the floor! Paul Kariya!
It just feels nice coming into that intro, doesn't it? It just feels so much better than the way we went into it before.
All the classic scoring plays, the Corey Perry with Edmonton last season, the Teemu Solani of the Stanley Cup year, and then, of course, my favorite player of all time, and I think he was yours, Paul Kariya, coming back from being laid out by Stevens back in 2003 and putting up a goal on Berger there. Yeah, of course, all the great times in Anaheim of yesteryear and a long time ago. And here we are today, hoping this team can get through and make it to the Stanley Cup playoffs just right now. Getting started in that first period, though, I thought we were going to get on the board early with a power play. What'd you see with that play, man? I just felt like it was just a whole lot of nothing, and it was just curious because it was very much not what we've seen recently.
Yeah, and it was the same power play setup we've seen that's having a little bit of more success than in the past. And it wasn't really just this power play either. They didn't really get a lot going offensively on any of the power play chances they had, and pretty much in the entire game. I think Dallas was clearly the well-rested team coming into this game. But yeah, I mean, when you get a power play that early, at least if you're not going to score, you got to get something going, getting some momentum, and they just did nothing. They just had nothing going. Dallas did a good job setting up on the penalty kill, and the Ducks just had no offense going whatsoever.
Both these teams coming off a loss to Nashville, interestingly enough. Dallas, obviously, the more rested team. I know the broadcast started talking about in this period, the first period, about how both teams are playing hard in between the whistles, but after the whistle, they're sucking wind or they're dogging it a bit. And I was like, what are you talking about? I mean, maybe Anaheim, but Dallas has had several days to recuperate here. I don't know what they're trying to say. And this is a must win for both teams. Really, Dallas is fighting in that wild card spot, so it makes sense that they would have that push. But you would figure the same push would be on Anaheim because they shouldn't be trying to sit around and coast through this. So it was just very disappointing to see that power play really not make anything happen at all. I mean, 48 seconds in, you have a chance on the road to get on the board, and they couldn't do it. And, after that power play, I mean, Silverberg just missed a pass by Pettersson in the high slot. And then it was Dallas. Dallas buzzing around here, getting some chances. Miller getting the bids turned aside. I mean, I really felt like Dallas carried the majority of the play. And then as you walk up on the goal by Ryan Getzlaf, which was just a beauty of a shot.
Yeah.
It was interesting the way the Ducks kind of took advantage of that. I mean, the Ducks were able to thwart the play. Hamhuis, I think, pinched in too deep, shot in on Miller. Miller kicks to the slot to Raquel, over to Perry, to Getzlaf, 2-on-1, and he went top corner.
Yeah, and that's why they ask him to shoot more often, because he's got a shot like that. We've seen it from countless times. I mean, he's a guy who can really shoot the puck. Obviously, his strength is his ability to pass the puck. But wow, I mean, that was just a great shot. You really couldn't pick it any higher than that in his top corner, and it is a great play. And this line continues to click. Obviously, it's not Raquel who ends up getting the goal in this one. It's Getzlaf, but these guys just lately have got on another level, and that's what you expect. I mean, you have to have your top line firing on all cylinders going this late into the season. Unfortunately, nobody else really stepped up in the entire game other than this line. But hey, I mean, I can't complain. It's nice to see Getz get back on the board as well.
No, it's true. He gets his 50th point of the season. He got his 10th goal, which honestly would be nice if he would have been healthy the rest of this year, because he would be close to being in the 80, 90 point range. He has 44 games, 50 points right now, so he's right around that average where he could be close. Would have been another monster year for Ryan Getzlaf. And, Dmitry Filipovic even tweeted out, from Sportsnet that, we don't talk about Ryan Getzlaf and just how good he still is, that he's not a young guy anymore, but he's still one of the best top centers in the league. When you say him, he ranks right up there with the best of them.
Yeah, he has to. I mean, when you look at playmakers again, then you put him in. I feel like you have to kind of put him in top 5, top 3, and just his ability to pass the puck. I feel like Joe Thornton's still up there. He kind of has to be, even with him getting up in age as well. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me, and I talk about this with Getzlaf a lot. But at his age, and how fast the game is now, that he still has that ability to slow down the game anytime he gets the puck on his stick. There's not many guys who can do that, especially, like I said, with the way the game's played now. We more look to guys like Connor McDavid, who, when they get the puck on their stick, can change the pace of play with their speed. And Getzlaf does the complete opposite, which is just even more amazing just nowadays that he can even continue to do that.
And he does it just at will.
Yeah.
The Ducks are a different team without Ryan Getzlaf on the ice. And it wasn't too long ago where people were ripping him. I mean, do you remember a couple seasons ago they should tear the C off his jersey?
The trade Getzlaf rumors, or give Kessler the captaincy. That was through a rough playoff series for the Ducks or something like that. Yeah, those were the dark days. And I mean, he didn't warrant that. Wasn't great, but it was the first time in a long time that he wasn't playing well. And I mean, everybody was just a little bit burned by the fact that the Ducks had just lost out in another late push to the playoffs. But yeah, it's unwarranted. I mean, the way this guy's played throughout his entire career, the way he's represented the Ducks, I don't think there's any chance he loses the C anytime soon.
I mean, you watch a lot of hockey, and I know that we could go a deep dive on any kind of analytics about Getzlaf and his line mates and all that, but just the way you said that he slows the game down, I mean, just what do you mean by that? Because you can see it. It's when he gets the puck, I mean, I'm sure you and I would say the same thing. It's kind of like people are waiting to see what he's going to do rather than just be right on him all of a sudden. And even when they get right on him and they put pressure on him, it's like he's almost able to make that play before they're able to pick up on what he's going to do.
Yeah, it's like you have to see it to believe it kind of thing, because statistically, you can't really look it up and say, yeah, he slows the play down every time he touches the puck. It's just watching him play on a regular basis and just seeing what he can do. And it's unbelievable. I'll say it every single time. It's unbelievable, the fact that he can still do this at this age and the way the game's played. I don't know how to explain it better than that. And I think most people listening to this, they've watched enough Ducks games that they probably know what I mean. And just the way he controls the game when he's on the ice. That's the best way to say it. And of course, you can look at the stats, and sometimes you'll say, okay, well, he's technically not controlling the game, but it's just the presence he has when he has the puck. And like you said, everybody's just waiting for him to make the play. That's when you know that they're playing the game at your pace.
No, it's true. It's going to be one of those things when he's gone off the Ducks that where everyone's kind of like, man, I don't think we appreciated enough as how good he was. I mean, he's how many seasons in? 12 seasons into his NHL career. He's in his early 30s. He's in, the fading years of his prime, right? It's not going to be before too long before we start talking about, man, is he going to sign another 1-year deal? I think he's going to get, pulled.
I want to know what that next contract's going to be. That's going to be the big. If Bob Murray's still here, that's the big move, right? With Perry and Getzlaf, what's their next contract going to be? And if it's going to be another 3 or 4 year one, if it's just going to be the Sedins, just a couple 1-year deals to last them out.
It's got to be something. They're not going to go anywhere right away.
Yeah.
Right. And we just spent a ton of time on Getzlaf there, but I just feel like he doesn't get enough love across the league. So when I saw that tweet by Filipovic, I was like, dang, man, I appreciate that guy, because we always talk about East Coast bias and how, no one stays up late to watch the games, but then here's Eddie. You're living in Toronto and you're 3 hours ahead. It's almost midnight where you're at, and we're here doing a post-game show. So there's a little dive on Getzlaf. Raquel and Perry with the assist. But, really, that whole play was created because of Getzlaf and his deception and able to take that shot in his wingspan, able to pull that snapshot into him, getting all that power as he drives